How did four 23-year-olds take over rock and roll and reinvent hard rock? Where did they come from and who are they? Let's see if we can answer these questions by looking at the history of Van Halen. Welcome to Music Icons, Van Halen. But first, coffee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Let's get started. On May 8, 1953, in Amsterdam, Jan, an accomplished musician himself, and Eugenia Van Halen gave birth to Alexander Arthur. Followed 2 years later, January 26, 1955, by Edward Lodwijk, better known to the world as Alex and Eddie Van Halen. At the age of 6, both boys were enrolled in piano lessons. In 1963, the family emigrated to the United States and settled in Pasadena, California. Between 63 and 67, Eddie won first place in the annual piano competition held at Long Beach City College. Though he didn't read music and played exclusively by ear. In 1964, the brothers formed their first band, The Broken Combs. Later, Trojan Rubber Company. Teenage hormones are awesome. By 72, they were Genesis, until Phil. So then Mammoth. The Van Halens rented a PA from David Lee Roth, who was offered a spot in the band because of his PA. Like most bands, Mammoth played low-paying gigs. Backyard parties, dive clubs, high school gymnasiums, bar mitzvahs. Yes, bar mitzvahs. Soon the boys were on the Sunset Strip, playing the famed Whiskey and Gazzarri's nightclubs. In 1977, Gene Simmons was blown away by Mammoth. Simmons stated, "They were making this furious noise with all these melodies coming out of the guitar. I had never heard anything like it before." Simmons paid for them to make a demo, sent the tape to Kiss's manager, who promptly threw it in the garbage. Next, on the most successful kick-yourself moments in music history. It was also around this time that the band changed their name to Van Halen. Even Roth's king-sized ego could not assuage the fact that Eddie's guitar was the star of the show, and so he suggested the name. Their major label dreams in the trash with their demo tape, the boys headed back to LA. In 1977 at the Starwood, Mal Osteen and Ted Templeman of Warner Brothers signed the boys to an exploitative major label contract. Van Halen felt like they hit the big time. The record company put Van Halen on tour, pre-opening for Montrose with vocalist Sammy Hagar. For those of you who live under a rock, this will be important later. During tour breaks, Van Halen hit Sunset Sound Studios. That's a whole lot of S's. With Ted Templeman producing. 3 weeks later, their first album was recorded, sounding very much like one of their live shows. Osteen sent a 5-song EP to radio stations, and they loved it. It's February 10th, 1978. A new band, a brand new sound plays from your AM radio. This album is a testament to what a party band of virtuosos can do. The first book in the gospel of hair metal, in my humble opinion. Number 19 on the Billboard charts. Gold by May, platinum by October. 169 weeks on the charts. That's more than 3 years for the mathematically challenged. Van Halen, an undeniable tsunami of rock and roll. With a stage show to captivate and a backstage show to make Caligula blush, Van Halen hits the road. Van Halen opens for Black Sabbath and wins over fans notorious for being horrible to opening acts. Ozzy would later say, "They blew us off the stage every night. It was so embarrassing. They kicked our asses." 6 days home and they're in the studio creating Van Halen 2. Many of the songs were already written, the new ones were being co-written, the music by Eddie and the lyrics by Dave. A band of brothers, for now. They make a handshake deal to split the royalties evenly. It's March 23rd, 1979. Van Halen 2 proves that this is no one-trick pony, including Dance the Night Away, their first top 20 single. Gold in a month, platinum in 2, and peaking at number 6 on the Billboard charts. The band headlines the World Invasion Tour, selling out arenas. The tour ends, they're off the road, back in the studio, time to create Women and Children First. Burned out of back catalog material, the kind of test that can kill a band. Eddie's music is heavier and darker. Dave's lyrics, less inspired. It's March 26, 1980. The album meets a lukewarm reception. Its only single, The Cradle Will Rock. Seemingly on reputation alone, the album does pull down triple platinum sales. The World Invasion Tour didn't hurt sales either. In backstage in Shreveport, the hard-partying guitar god Eddie Van Halen meets the cherubic America's sweetheart Valerie Bertinelli. The courtship continues. The dutiful monogamous fiancé, the most famous guitarist in the world, and the rest of the band record Fair Warning. It's April 11th, 1981, Ed and Val's wedding day. It's April 29th, 1981, and Fair Warning is released, quickly becoming Van Halen's first commercial failure. Distraught, the band digs into their personal savings accounts in order to entice radio stations to play the disc. And everybody acts like pay-for-play's a new thing. The tour ends with the band exhausted physically and emotionally. Drinking and drug use are tearing at the band's seams. Their nerves are frayed and being jangled by one another. They take a break. Dave is bored. To appease him, they record a single of Roy Orbison's Oh Pretty Woman with Happy Trails on the B-side. The single soars to number 12. Warner Brothers pressures the band back into the studio. Diver Down is finished in under 2 weeks. It even sounds rushed, and it gets panned by the press. Rolling Stone calls it commercial fraud. But the 31-minute album goes quadruple platinum. A grueling tour ensues. The lights come up, and the band plays their asses off. Dave high kicks into a mid-air split off of Alex's drum riser like some sort of cross between Bruce Lee and the Flying Melendez. The lights go down, the screaming matches and petty grudges flare. And no brown M&Ms. Is it an easy way to know that the security measures were followed? Or just raucous egoism run amok? You decide. It's February 1983 when the High George Sheep Tour closes. The band again promises that their next album will be unrushed. It's the 70s end, the 80s beginning, and the legacy of Hendrix, Page, and Clapton is passed to a new generations in the hands of Eddie Van Halen. The king of pop needs a face-melting solo for his new song, so he calls the reigning king of guitar, and Eddie plays the solo on Michael Jackson's Beat It in less than an hour. Eddie, too honored to let greed get in the way, refuses to take a penny for the gig. It's 1983 and Eddie's personal studio, 5150, just opened, keeping Eddie home with his new wife and allowing him to spend more time in the studio simultaneously. And don't forget the added creative power over the rest of the band. From now on, the studio is Eddie's studio. Frustrating the man who got in because he owned a PA. Free from expensive hourly studio rates, Eddie gets the freedom to explore his love of electronic synths. Fighting, butting heads, a buffet of illicit substances, and weeks of non-stop graveyard shift labor create the best Van Halen music since 1978. 1984 births 4 singles. Jump, which spends 5 weeks at number 1. Panama, Hot for Teacher, and I'll Wait, propelling it to number 6 on the yearly charts. These 3 songs fuel my preteen hormones. Yes, 3. Have you heard I'll Wait? Even the casual listener notices Eddie's love of synths. Professional highs, personal lows. The once four musketeers are barely able to tolerate one another. A diamond album, a 9-month tour. The last for the original lineup. On board a Concorde to Europe, things explode when Dave plays some demos of a secret solo album he's been working on. It's September 2nd, 1984, Nuremberg, Germany. Van Halen's original lineup takes the stage. They close the set with Happy Trails, their last show together. Dave either quits or gets fired. The facts of the conversation only 4 men will ever know. For the rest of us, facts don't matter. It's the end of an era, the end of a band, the end of the party. Or is it? I cried. Then I called my brother and told him the motherfucker quit. Eddie Van Halen. We were all pretty upset. The record label didn't even want us to continue calling the band Van Halen. Michael Anthony. In less than a year, the world has what Rolling Stone calls one of the very few successful lead singer transplants. A few months go by, Eddie spots a famous red Ferrari owned by a friend of his at a local garage. $1 million idea is born, and Eddie calls the owner, Sammy Hagar. Remember back at the beginning, Van Halen was opening for Montrose, who were opening for Journey? Yeah, that's Sammy Hagar. Sammy is very different than Dave. No one could follow Dave, and Eddie knows that. So he chooses someone that will go in a completely different awe-inspiring direction. Eddie is all business, asking Sammy if he wants to jam with and maybe join Van Halen. Sammy's non-committal, but is thinking about asking Eddie to join his band. They obviously want to share a stage, it's just a matter of legalities and names now. They get together at 5150. The band plays songs written last night. Sammy scat singing and improving lyrics along with them. In one jam session, they've come up with the beginnings of 2 songs off of the next Van Halen album. Van Halen is talking about having a band again. Sammy isn't so sure until he listens to the playback of the tapes and calls his manager immediately saying, "I want in." Fine wine sipping, Armani jacket and slacks wearing, father of 2, Sammy, and beer drinking, chain smoking, wrinkled t-shirt and jeans wearing Eddie are certainly an odd couple. But the music is a different story. Mo Osteen hears Why Can't This Be Love and states, "I smell money." It's September 1985 at Farm Aid. Talk about go big or go home. Van Halen takes the stage with Sammy. The dueling frontmen already quickly best friends. Sammy buys a house near Eddie and Valerie's Malibu home. The dynamic duo race overpriced, overpowered, luxury sports cars back and forth between the studio and the beach. Usually Eddie has 8 or 9 sheets to the wind at the time. Eddie rarely does anything without drinking first. It's March 24th, 1986, when 5150 unleashes Van Hagar! The album shoots to #1 like a bullet, easily outstripping all of their previous albums. Prowling the stage, leaping from the drum riser, playing rhythm guitar, and wearing a headset mic, it's Sammy! Fans are receptive, with signs stating Happy Trails, David Lee Who, and crossed out pictures of Dave stating no bozos. Sammy encourages the bashing, pulling fans out of the audience to sing Jump instead of doing it himself, burning pictures of Dave that get thrown on stage. Eddie is okay with Sammy trash-talking Dave, but he draws the line at trash-talking their music. The band speaks up and tells Sammy to knock it off. Backstage is a different world. Dave had backstage bands on Blondes, except himself, wives, and children. Dave told newlywed Eddie not to bring Val when the press was around. Valerie joined Eddie on tours and commented, "It was hell." Eddie and I hung out by ourselves in the tuning room. The mood was absolutely miserable. Now Sam and Anthony both bring their wives and children along for the show. The tour rages on, fans completely unaware of tragedies off stage. Valerie becomes pregnant in January and miscarries in March. Father Jan suffers a major heart attack and barely survives. Jan dies shortly after the tour ends. Dave, always close with Jan and instrumental on him playing clarinet on Big Bad Bill, calls with his condolences. On his deathbed, Jan begs his children to take a different path than him and get off the booze. Alex kicks it quickly and never looks back. Eddie's addiction struggles continue through 4 more Sammy-era albums. It's 1988 and Van Halen releases OU812 with the dedication, "This one's for you, Pa." Hagar's sophomore Van Halen album bears no producer credit, because the boys produced it themselves, according to Hagar. Robert Christou of The Village Voice writes, "Trading Dave for Sammy sure ruined their shot at being the Led Zepp of the 1980s. Xavier Russell of Kerrang! States, "OU812 is a veritable fest of great white rock and roll." Eddie says the album is poorly mixed. Some sources claim that he commented, "Sonically it was shit." It earns 4 Billboard Hot 100 hits, with When It's Love peaking at number 5. It also sells quadruple platinum in the US. It's 1991 and Sammy names for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Taking a full 13 months to write and record, one can only expect that it's going to sound like rich men playing with their toys. But that wasn't the goal. The songs are an obvious return to Van Halen's hard rock roots. Synths are gone, replaced by a piano. The album debuts at number 1 on Billboard's Hot 200 and stays there for 3 weeks. 3 critics give it a 2 out of 5 stars, a C rating, and a dud rating. The album goes triple platinum, mainly due to Right Here, Right Now. And it wins the 91 Grammy for the Best Hard Rock Performance, but only because Nevermind was in the alternative category. It's 1995 and Balance, the last Hagar-era album, is released. It's also the last album that Michael Anthony plays all the bass on. It starts sluggish, but eventually it does go to number 1 on the Hot 200 and obtains triple platinum sales. Working like corporate suit and tie guys with their 8-hour days, 5 days a week for 3 months to complete the album. The result is release week sales 21% higher than for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. After Balance's tour concludes, Sammy quits, gets fired, quits, gets fired. It depends on who you believe. But Van Halen is in the market for a new lead singer. They audition Gary Cherone from Extreme. While Gary's still holding his bags, Eddie asks if he's ready to sing. After a quick bathroom break, the band plays 6 songs with Gary, 4 Hagar-era and 2 Dave-era songs. Then they co-write a song and Gary is in the band. Van Halen immediately hits the studio. More than the lead singer has changed. Eddie's sober with a triumvirate of songs about it. Eddie also sings lead for the first time. In another first, Gary hands Eddie finished lyrics to write a song for. And Van Halen 3 becomes the best flop of Van Halen's career. These guys even fail big. The album does not go platinum. Critics panic. Stephen Thomas Erlewine states that Cherone is incapable of understatement. It disappoints, peaking at 176 on the Billboard Hot 200 and not charting a single song. Not surprisingly, the only album recorded with Gary. Between Sammy and Gary, it's Dave. It's 1996. There's a power vacuum where Van Halen's frontman should be, and they're presenting an award at the VMAs. Cue Dave. More a publicity stunt than a reunion. In support of Van Halen's first compilation, Best of Volume 1, which includes 2 new songs with Dave. And after Gary, there was Sammy. It's 2004. Van Halen does a summer tour with Sammy on the mic. Tensions between Sam and Ed rekindled during rehearsals and continue to grow during the tour. This marks the last time Sam performs with Van Halen. And after Sammy, we got Dave again. It's 2007. Van Halen plays a 40-date reunion tour with Dave. But Wolfgang replaces Michael Anthony on bass and backup vocals. The tour helps Van Halen reclaim their good name. It's 2011 and Van Halen is in 5150 with old tapes and a teenager's enthusiasm. They recapitulate. Dave back on the mic. Old unfinished 70s tunes. The band refreshed, invigorated, and ready to take on the world. This is their opus. It's October 6th, 2020. Eddie dies of a stroke in St. John's Medical Center in Santa Monica, California. His death follows various health issues, including hip replacements, tongue cancer, throat cancer, possibly lung cancer, and diverticulitis. Here is how his friends and family remember him. I'm so glad Wolfie and I were able to hold you in your last moments. I will see you in our next life, my love. Valerie Bertinelli. To those of us fortunate enough to have met Eddie, a special person. He leaves a big hole in a lot of hearts. Phil Collins. You changed our world. You were the Mozart of rock guitar. Nikki Sixx. Eddie put the smile back in rock guitar at a time when it was getting a bit broody. He also scared the hell out of a million guitarists. 'Cause he was just so damn good. Joe Satriani. He had profound things to say on the instrument. Guys tried to copy him, but nobody ever came close. Ted Templeman. He's the sweetest, most humble, down-to-earth guy. He has no attitude, and look what he's done. Tony Iommi. So how did four men in their early 20s take over the world of rock and roll? Eddie's a virtuoso guitarist, a preeminent keyboardist, and a songwriting genius. Also virtuoso on his instrument, Alex in any other band would have been the musical star, which just speaks to the caliber of musicianship in Van Halen. Michael Anthony, the rare bass player that knows his job and does it well. Dave. Come on, it's Dave. If this man wasn't a rock star, he'd probably be in prison somewhere. Mix those with a healthy dose of ambition, a little money from Dave's dad, some inspiration from Jan, and stardom becomes nothing but the natural course of events. I hope you enjoyed the show. Leave a comment, let us know your thoughts on Van Halen. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring my bell, baby. Have a great time, everyone.